rock and roll, I would like to say thank you for you all could have been anywhere in the world, quite literally, and you're rocking with us. We appreciate it. We give thanks. Clap it up for yourselves one time. Nah, we're gonna run this back one more time. I'm from New York. I lived in Chicago for a few years, and this is my first event back in New York. Clap it up for yourselves one time. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. So now I'm gonna share some information about our esteemed panelists today. But I know you have done your research, you've done your Googles, and I know you are familiar with the bio, because I know you all stay ready so you don't gotta get ready, correct? Nah, we gotta try that again, okay. I know you all stay ready so you don't have to get ready, correct? All right, that's right, that's right. So first, to my left, I would like to introduce you all to Grace Blake, Programming Director at City Winery in Pier 57. Grace is a music industry vet who brings many years of management and programming and artist relations and talent buying and production to her role. She was recognized and inducted in the New York Blues Hall of Fame as a great music manager and promoter. Blake is also the producer of 2 award-winning PBS series, Front and Center and Speak Easy. Y'all clap it up for Grace one time. And to her left, ooh, okay, cool. Yeah. Not to the left, we're gonna remix it a little bit. On my far left, the farthest left, we have Nancy Danahy, Senior Vice President, Global People Acquisition at Madison Square Garden Entertainment Company. Prior to joining Madison Square Garden Entertainment, she has served as Vice President for Global Human Resources at the Children's Place, where she led the global talent acquisition team. Y'all clap it up for Nancy one time. Come on, energy. I see y'all. Up next, we have Wes Jackson, President of BRIC Arts Media. Wes has over 25 years of experience as a leader, entrepreneur, innovator, creative, and executive in entertainment and academia. BRIC programs include, make sure y'all tap into these. BRIC programs include the free summer-long BRIC Celebrate Brooklyn Festival, and BRIC's nationally recognized school-based arts and media education program reaches thousands of New York City's public school students each year. He's also the founder and leader of the Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival. Y'all clap it up for Wes one time. And last but certainly not least, we have my man, Chris Sampson, Associate Director, Head of Music Bookings at Spotify. Chris oversees all music bookings for the company's internal and external events. He has led the music booking team on behalf of festivals such as Bonnaroo, Outside Lands, and Clusterfield, when he is not going hard in the paint and working. He loves spending time with his family and his dog, Otis. Clap it up for Chris one time. Now, what you all can expect today, shout out to the people in the cut, I see y'all. What you all can expect today, we're gonna have some general questions that I'm gonna ask our esteemed panelists, and then I'm gonna have some specific questions, and I hope y'all are ready, because then I need you all to ask some questions. That's cool with y'all? Yeah. So maybe it was just 5 of us who popped out today. Is that cool with y'all? Yes. All right, wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. So first, and we're gonna start with popcorn style, but I would love if you all can give an answer. Tell us a little bit about your career journey and as it relates to how you all got where you are today, and what talents did you have to get here?
Oh boy. Okay. So I can start, and it's really interesting because, well, it's interesting to me. It may not be interesting to you, but I actually fell into talent acquisition. It wasn't by purpose. I went to school for marketing and psychology, and then I ended up starting in recruiting. And I was like, wow, I really love this, because I love to listen to people's stories, and I love to hear what they do, what they're passionate about. And then the ability to help people find jobs and give them really sound advice so that they could aspire and get the careers that they wanted to get, I realized how much charge and passion I got out of it, and it just became, I was like, oh, I'm actually good at this. Oh my God, okay. I'm gonna keep going at this and see where I land, and I've been able to work across multiple different industries, and by far my favorite has been at Madison Square Garden, and working across so many different, they have 3 different companies and so many different types of roles that we offer there. It's been a thrill. So I hope that answers your question.
Nailed it. Thank you so much, Nancy. Who's next?
I'll take it next. So just on behalf of everybody at Works at BRIC, is so happy to have you all in the building, and shout out Sky and Carmen and the team for making this happen. Listening to my bio is kind of interesting because now running an arts and culture nonprofit was never the plan and the cards. So I would say, people love to tell you this story of it being like this direct line. You did this and you did this linear path. I'm sort of proof positive of this sort of winding road and allowing almost the experience in life to guide you a bit. My background is being an entrepreneur, particularly in, as you said, hip hop culture and in education. And, a diverse place like BRIC just called to me because I can do all the disciplines that I love and bring some of the dissonance of that experience all to bear. So I think when I think about this audience of following that path and accumulating knowledge along the way, and then just always being aware of how to apply it is really how I got here, and I think why I enjoy it here and why me and the team can do so well, for just being comfortable with being uncomfortable with all the knowledge.
Thank you, Wes.
My path, I was in a band in high school and in college, so I had big dreams of being a rock and roll star. And when I finished school, the rest of the guys that I grew up with, they all moved to New York City, and we pounded the pavement and played a lot of shows, a lot of different venues, and quickly realized after a year and a half, 2 years, we were not going to be rock stars. And got a job delivering wine at night, and I thought, how am I going to still be around music? If I'm not going to be on stage, how do I help? How do I help? And so I think, talking about career paths, that was probably the hardest, is getting the foot in the door in the business in the beginning. And it all started, for me, I loved music so deeply and so passionately. I thought, I have to do something in music. If I'm not going to be on the mic, I want to be working with people who are going to be on the mic, on the stage, and how do I help them? And so part of it was finding a couple of artists that I really believed in and doing anything possible to help them. Sell their merch, move equipment off the stage, drive in a van with them to help them load in and load out different venues. And it just started all with, for me, a lot of just the passion and the drive to make sure I was surrounding myself with people that I really believed in, to get my foot initially in the door. So.
Cool. Thanks, Chris.
And I think you're hearing a common thread and a common theme here, which is surrounding yourself with, could be like-minded or could be completely opposite, but just finding your community. And for me, I come from a background where I'm a music major, so I did music education. I thought that I would be this concert pianist and realized that I have wicked stage fright. So the thought of getting myself to do that night after night after night, I thought maybe this might not be for me. Maybe it's something behind the scenes. And I then became an actor. So I forced myself into an uncomfortable place, which is to be on stage in front of people and developing the ability to be able to speak to others in front of the stage, memorization, etc. But I also love music, and that passion burned inside me, and I thought, okay, if I couldn't be an actor or a successful actor, what would I do with my life? And the thought of talent buying was something that I was always interested in. So as, Chris said to me, next to me, said about just jumping in and getting involved. So whether it's selling merch, for me, it was about handing out flyers for a band, and for a band named 13 Engines. I grew up in Kingston, Ontario, Canada. So it was handing out those flyers, making sure that it helped fill up the room and the venue for that artist. And then it became helping to manage other artists navigate the system. And so for me, my advice to you is look around you right now. I don't know how many came with friends or how many of you are here on your own, but get to know every single person in this room, because you never know when and how they will be able to assist you on your journey.
Oh, yeah, we definitely going. Y'all can clap it up for that. Absolutely. 100%. And trust and believe we will certainly circle back to the importance of relationships. But one thing I do want to know, you all have a lot of nice, fancy titles, and we love that for y'all. We love that for us, to be honest, right? But 2 questions. 1, what does your day-to-day look like? And 2, I know it could look wild, and that's what we're here for. We're here for that. But also, if you think about the one element that you focus on overall in your role, what is that? So, like, for example, for Most Incredible Studio, we focus on a brilliant building experience through Lego, right? From what I'm hearing from Nancy, Nancy focuses on people, right? Wes, in my head, focuses on community. Y'all focus on music, but it could not be, right? So those are the 2 questions. What is one kind of like element that you focus on? And then overall, what does your day-to-day look like?
Self-care.
I know that's right. Say it one more time for the people in the back, Grace. Say it one more time for the folks in the back.
Self-care.
Right.
As they say, when the oxygen mask drops, put it on yourself first. So if you are not in the right state of mind, there is no way you're going into a situation where you are negotiating a particular deal, where you're able to convince an agent why your room is the room that their artist is to play. So you have to have your mind straight. You also have to be respectful for the people that you work with in your environment, because they have your back no matter what.
Thank you. I mean, are we done? No, I'm joking. Okay. Come on, y'all. Thank you. Who else? Who's next?
I would say for me, it's interesting because I think about the experience, and I think about the experience that everybody has talking to anybody in the company, and I want it to be so positive. So, many people here put on shows and they want it to be a great experience for the guests, but I think about every single candidate that we speak to on our talent acquisition team, and they're our guest, and how do we ensure that they have a great experience? And that's the thing that you have to be in the right mindset to bring that to life, and you have to find people who are really passionate about what they do so that they take the time to care about what each one of you guys what you care about, what are you good at, and help you figure out what that is, and then how do you apply that to something that you want to be doing later on. And so it's very fulfilling. It's really fun. And that's, I think, to me, that's almost my self-care, is how do I help you guys out?
I know that's right.
I would say to sort of the day-to-day, what my position is quite simply about is getting money, right? It is my responsibility to make sure that all the sources of revenue and lines of business are bringing in so we can, keep the lights on the most basic level. And that can take many things from, talking to people and, supporting the people, writing the grants and making those intros, but that's the most basic level. I would say the secondary would be, kind of putting out fires, right? When you're at leadership, there's a sense of freeing up a lot of your schedule because something unexpected is going to hit. So if I have too rigid of a schedule, it actually is very bad because any number of things could go right or could go wrong. So my older brother used to say it's almost like playing outfield in baseball, not to bring in too many references, but you don't know where that ball's going to be, but you got to be able to respond quick enough and be fast enough to catch it. So I think there's, again, about being comfortable with being uncomfortable. You got to be nimble. I think one of the most important things, though, from my perspective, is supporting your people, because you cannot do it all by yourself. And I think it's the same way you're saying, probably the people who are going to make it happen are sitting next to you and starting to cultivate that. And I have a very much of a servant leadership perspective, is that the higher you go, the lower the job you got to be prepared to do. So if they need ice, I got to get ice because I can't have y'all with cold drinks because that's going to mess up down the line. It's going to mess up the money down the line. Right? Chris going to be, I like West and everything, but that beer was lukewarm. I ain't coming back. So you have to be able to connect those dots and humble yourself that, the bigger you are, the lower you got to act. And essentially, I work for everybody here, even though technically on the org chart it looks the opposite way. So I try to support my people is, I think, the most important thing I can do.
I think what you said, just being humble, but removing the ego out of the position, right? And realizing, for me, how lucky I am that I get to do what I do, and how lucky I am to get to work with the people that I get to work with day in and day out, and the artists that I get to work with, and kind of remind myself that all the time, that I get to do this, and how incredible that is. Day to day, my job and my team's job is, at Spotify, we make sure we centralize the booking process. We're a big company. There's events happening all over the world. We want to make sure that we are aware of all the events that are happening, and making sure that we're communicating that information to the rest of the company so everybody has that. Everybody's aware and on the same level. And then from the big picture as well, again, going back to, we're a big company. I love meeting new people. I've been at Spotify for almost 3 years, and I still feel like many times I'm coming into work for the first time. I'm coming into a company for the first time. And that to me is really exciting, invigorating, and a lot of it has to do with the people I get to work with. We're talking to people from different time zones, different countries is awesome. And it really reminds me how connected of a world we are and how beautiful a place it can be when everybody's working with the right mindset, with the right intentions.
Wonderful. Speaking of intention, I see some of you got your notebooks out, some of you got your phones out, ready to rock. I hope you're ready. We really want to be intentional around essentially giving you all major keys that you can use in real time. No DJ Khaled. See what I did there? Major key, bump, bump, ba-doom, psh. Cool. Shout out to those who caught it. If it went over your head, shout out to you anyway. But so I want to ask you very concretely two things. One, what is one skill that you look for when bringing on somebody to your team? And what is one value that you look for when bringing on somebody to your team? And everybody got the thinking faces, so I'll hop in and I'll start first. So one skill that I have to have on my team is a team player. Like if you are down to ride, however, we get in ice, cool. We are building a 150,000 piece Lego set, cool. Down for whatever. So that's one skill. I would say a value that I am intentional about when bringing on people on my team is gratitude. I'm huge on gratitude. Gratitude gang all day and tomorrow. If you are not thankful, we are not aligned, and this might not be the right place for you, even if you love playing with Lego bricks all day. So that's my skill is teamwork, and my value is gratitude.
I'll jump in. One of the things I love are when people are able to give their opinion on something. You know, a lot of times I'll ask somebody, what do you think of that artist? And they'll say, I don't know. Like, come on, you got to know.
You got to know.
You got to think something. It can be bad or it can be good, but don't be afraid to share your opinion. Yep. I value that so much. And then going back to just a personality trait, kindness, respect, really, you have to have both those things. Yep. Super important because, remember, it's not just dealing with the team internally, but it's externally. We're dealing with artists and managers and labels and everybody, and we want to make sure that we are giving out that right energy, that right kindness that we expect to come back to us.
And for me, I would say problem solving. And problem solving, troubleshooting, because for me, it's all about thinking outside the box. Everything is not always black and white. You really have to be able to put your thinking caps on and think of, what would I do in this position? It's not in a manual. It's not on your phones. It's not on Google. It's here. Right. What would you do? In terms of a value, I would say be impeccable with your word. If you say you're going to do something, do it.
Say that again, please. Y'all heard that back there? Come on, 4 agreements.
4 agreements
Y'all should read
all
that
the
book,
way.
by the way.
If you say you're going to do something, do it.
Be impeccable with your word. I know that's right. So be a kind person, be full of gratitude, be a nice person, be impeccable with your word. What else?
Good.
I would say that I think you have to be agile. You have to be really agile, try different things, come in, and also be open-minded. I think those are, I don't know which one's a skill and which whatever, but I would say that, yeah, I'd say to have agility and be open-minded to trying different things is really important. One of the things that I appreciate so much in people, and I think it resonates within our culture, is being humble. And, there's a lot of people who come in and think that they know everything, and you know what? Nobody knows everything, and that's okay. And so when people are really humble, there's lots of big egos and everything everywhere, but no one cares. Because at the end of the day, if you love what you do and you're really passionate about it and you bring your best self to work every single day, then the great things doors will open up for you.
Facts.
Yeah, I just add all of those things. I would add intellectual curiosity, right? Which kind of goes like have an opinion and all, Well, the big lie is, right, that everyone up here is acting like they know everything. The truth is we don't know everything.
Making it up in real time.
To be honest, there's a significant part of that, of this problem that came out of here is a new problem. I don't know, I don't have the magic bullet for it, but I have enough knowledge over here, and I got enough curiosity over here, and I got a good team here. Those three things can figure it out. So just being able to say, like, I don't know, right, but I am willing to learn. Right, that level of aptitude is what I always hire for. Because skills are skills. There's certain jobs you have to have the skills. Like if you're gonna be in finance, you gotta know certain protocols. If you're in tech, you gotta know certain protocols. But ultimately, I want people who are gonna be curious and be willing to learn and grow. And then sort of the attribute, I was gonna say humility as well, but community, what you kind of put on me earlier, is especially at BRIC, we are here in service to the community. So if you're coming in here on some gatekeeping, I know you're going to get this is the type of art you need to consume, you should really leave. Because we are here to be in service and to provide a platform for people. So you got to have that curiosity plus a little bit of humility, which sometimes can be at odds with one another. Speak up and say what you want to say, but sometimes shut up and listen to people who are smarter than you at the same time. So you got to know when to, when to hold them and when to fold them, as they used to say.
Right. Indeed. Not shut up. Kindly move over to the side.
Exactly,
We got y'all. LOL. I think it's easy, especially when we're on panels like this one, to talk about the amazing things that happen in our day-to-day, right? And not necessarily the challenges. Could you please speak to like one challenge in your career and how you went about overcoming it?
Well, for me as a programming director, I'm tasked with booking multiple spaces. So we're doing over like 600 shows a year. And I always attribute it to the game, I don't know how many of you may know the game Whack-A-Mole, like you hit something down and another piece comes up.
Y'all was at the arcade. Stop playing like y'all don't know Whack-A-Mole.
So that's what I consider booking sometimes, because just when you think that you've landed an amazing multi-night run, then all of a sudden life happens. Things can go awry, whether it's the weather or whether it's illness by one of the band members or something happens that then those dates fall open. You have to be, as you say, open, versatile. You have to kind of dip into your reservoir of, of what else could you possibly put in there. You also have to lean on your community, your other fellow colleagues, to say, hey, what may you have in here that could easily fill that position? So it's being quick on your feet and being open, because you cannot, in our line of business, you cannot have those days dark. It is an independent venue. It relies on so many things. There's the labor costs, there is all of these other rent, and you have other staff members who are relying on those nights to make money and make business, and you can't just go like, oh, well, okay. You have to be very, very versatile.
Before we hop to the next panelist, can you share what it means for an event to go dark or for a day to go dark?
Gosh, a loss of my job? No. No, for a day to go dark has to be, we do those few and far between. So it really has to be maybe the day of, We've had things fall out on us 24 hours in advance, and you think and you become creative. So can you do a bingo night? Is there a comedian that's traveling through that, wants to pick up another night? So you're literally like going through your list of who's who, people that have helped you before, and you're just calling up everyone. Or you're putting together a particular night and then emailing your whole, list that you have and just encouraging people to come in and have dinner. So you still try to salvage and save the night. It's rare that we go dark.
Got it. So for those that, I know you got it because Grace did a phenomenal job at explaining it. Going dark is something not happening at an event venue at all. Cool. Who's next?
I think along the same lines, my last job, we produced music festivals, and a lot of challenges there. One of the biggest challenging moments I had at that job was we did a festival in Phoenix, and the first year went really well. We had Chance the Rapper, The Killers, and Future. It was awesome. And we got really excited. We put the lineup together for year 2, and we went on sale, and very little tickets were sold out of the gate. And we very quickly knew that unless we started to see some movement, we were going to have to cancel the festival, not do it. And so what that meant was, A, getting on the phone and telling each manager, booking agent that we were not going to do the festival and trying to negotiate out of paying these artists the money that you promised them. And then 2, you had people who had bought tickets who were committed to fly into Phoenix for the weekend to spend this incredible time seeing their favorite artists who, thankfully, not that many people bought tickets, so there weren't that many people to let down. But just dealing with that, and I kind of found it was one of the first times in my career that I had to do that, really let a lot of people down in a probably over 40 artists, different agents. But we did it. We came from the right place, right? Good intentions. We wanted to put on a great event. We weren't able to do it. So that was definitely a challenging moment, and learned a lot, because I think the agents and the people respected getting to the truth, getting to the point right away, and I still do business with the majority of these people to this day. So,
Yeah, I would. A good specific example, we had the same thing maybe 2 years ago. I don't know if everybody remembers, they had those wildfires coming down from Canada. I guess it was like 23-ish, and we had the opening night of Celebrate. And there was an orange cloud descending upon New York City, and I remember sitting in the coffee shop about 9:30 in the morning, and was like, it was our opening night. All of these, it was a free show, but donors coming out, all of this stuff coming, and making a decision like, we got to pull the plug on this. And people sitting here like, well, maybe it'll blow over, maybe it's okay, the artists are ready to perform, and just looking out and seeing the sky and saying, listen, I got asthma, right? I cannot, in good faith, have somebody out there. And we had this elder Taj Mahal, who's like 80 plus years old with a heart condition, and be like, what are we doing here? Are we really gonna put people's lives at risk for this concert? And by 10 o'clock, we had pulled the plug. And if anybody remembers that day, there was a lot of programming, summer stage and all stuff, but it took some people till 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, 4 o'clock that night, that afternoon to cancel all the shows. And then the city came out, and we were sort of sitting there and got a lot of props of being the first ones, to make that difficult call. And then, of course, the artist is like, cool story. Well, I was ready to perform, so can I get my money? Right. And it's like, well, there's a force majeure, there's all of these clauses, the act of God, and that wasn't covered. And then we had months of, trying to figure out who was going to get paid, which was a lot of fun. And people probably throwing darts at, my picture, but standing there being like, yo, people could have died. If I did that, and you could sue me, and we could, I will die. I'll fight you to the end for that.
Shout out to insurance one time.
Yeah, exactly. I'm very violent today with my language, so please forgive me. But leadership is making those decisions. It's gonna, even my coach says it, you gotta take the pain now, right, for the relief later, which is counterintuitive to human nature. Human nature is try to avoid the pain and try to delay it. But that's to really be in these seats, you gotta do the opposite.
I remember that day. Yeah, I do. I have pictures of it on my camera. I was like, wow, I've never seen the sky so orange in my life. That's a good story. I would say that one of the biggest challenges that I've faced is I'm sure you guys have all heard about Sphere and have seen it, and if you haven't been, it's amazing. But beyond that, when we first opened, we couldn't tell anybody about it. And we had to build a team of people who were going to come in and do this incredible artistry work, technology, artists, finance, you name it. We had a series of different people and series of different opportunities for people, but we couldn't tell anybody about what it was that we were actually doing. And the staffing challenges were to staff a studio in California of approximately 500 people, but we couldn't tell anybody what we were doing. So it was really, really hard. And one of the things that I learned along with my team is how to be really resourceful. How do you get creative around telling a story that you can't really use a lot of you don't have any pictures to show anybody, you don't have anything that you can tell them other than what you're scripted to share, and how do you build enthusiasm for something that no one knows anything about? And it just took, it's one person, and somebody said earlier, make it a point to meet everybody in this room. Make it a point to meet everybody whenever you can, because you never know who that one person is going to turn you on to the next person, because it just takes one. You hire a great talent magnet. Those people are going to bring on a series of different other people that are going to come in and help to change lives of people. And it just grew with momentum, and then the story became everybody else's story as they started to bring people in. And we've staffed and hired thousands of people up to this point, but to get to that place initially was really hard. And you can never give up. You just have to keep seeking different solutions, no matter how difficult it is. It doesn't matter. Inside of you and your teams, you guys can all get there. It just takes a lot of drive, passion, and creative thinking to get to the solution.
I have a question
And a lot
for
of
you.
fun, right? It's fun to do that stuff.
Was there a code name for that project? And if so, can you share it?
There wasn't. There wasn't. There wasn't. It was and yeah, how do we get it? And even when we opened up in Las Vegas and they were building this, big circle in the sky, and I would get in cabs and ask people, what is that thing? And all the different stories that I heard from people was really fascinating. So no, we didn't have a code name. We didn't. It's a good question though.
Oh, man. So thus far, we've heard about the importance of community, the importance of literally staying ready so you don't got to get ready. Shout out to Sphere one time. We've heard of problem solving and being nice and kind and putting your ego to the side and being of service. Next, I'm going to ask you all some individual questions and then get ready, because then we're going to open it up to questions for you all. So first, I'm going to start with Wes. Can you talk a little bit about the importance of bridging the intersection of music and the nonprofit world?
The importance
Yeah, that was
of
a
it.
good one,
Yeah, that
huh?
was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a good one. I will say this because I was having a meeting with our chief program officer about this earlier today. There's this sort of weird thing that happens in arts and culture that is somehow off to the side, right? This is our big, beautiful gallery, right? So if you do visual art, you go over there, and if you do music, you go over there. I think this is one of the cool things about the Sphere is kind of literally the technology of ignoring all of that. Education goes over there. So I was raised, I'm a hip hop kid. I don't understand these divisions. I learned more about Black history from Public Enemy and Brand Nubian and KRS-One that I did in any curriculum of these private schools I went to. So I always associate art with culture and education and empowerment and liberation. So when I sat in this job, was an interesting take, that me in my leadership trying to bridge those gaps, I think some people were not used to that, right? Is that we're not here to do social justice. We're not here to do workforce development. I was talking to Max upstairs. These are separate things, and other organizations, do that. Other great organizations do that. We just need to put cool art up and make some cool shows and keep it moving. And I fundamentally rejected that. I said, this is the work of liberation, whether it be a Black man like myself or a trans person or LGBTQ or a Jewish person, a Muslim person. this is the work that we do is how we're going to empower people, and I think get out of this mess, if you ask me. But I'm a hammer, so everything is a nail. But when it's sort of hard to be, racism and all these isms are difficult to hold on to, right? Because they're not based in any logic. So I think sometimes if you go out to the band show and you're seeing a good show, at some point, right, maybe the difference you could see between me and Chris, at some point we could look at a Fishbone show and be like, at least for 30 minutes, all of that is gone, right? And then we got to take that energy and keep it moving. Not erase our differences, but say, there are things that we can agree upon. There's some things that we can't, and there may come a thing that we cannot move forward on, and then that's fine, and we move it to the side. But what music and nonprofit work, really go hand in hand. And the business, my entrepreneurial ways were a little bit more, the fear of the dark nights, I got a little bit of that's a scary thing. Thankfully in nonprofits, we don't have that proverbial, sort of Damocles hanging, over us because our funding structure is a little bit different. But it allows us to integrate the two for maximum service. I don't know, hopefully that answered the question. But they go the traditional nonprofit route and traditional music route that all my fellow panelists do, to me, go hand in hand. And this is why I love this place, because we can that's what we live by.
Absolutely. Shout out to BRIC one time for the one time. Chris, as it relates to music booking, I know you shared some of the skills, but as you hopped into your position now, was there a skill that you didn't have that you felt was necessary, and what did you do to acquire said skill?
Wow, that's a great question.
Come on, shout out to me. I'm like off the fly, off the cuff, making it happen now.
That's a great question. So at Spotify, every job in the music space that I had before working there was for smaller companies, much smaller, 10, 15, 50, where I knew everybody. And we're all in the same office, so if you had to do something, you wanted to ask a question, you just go over and ask the person. At Spotify, there's a lot more people. And so I really had to train myself. It's not possible just to go walk next door, next office, and find somebody. You really have to assert yourself and be incredibly proactive in going and seeking the answers that you need to seek, internationally, in different time zones. So it's really being more assertive and staying on people to get the answers you need. And again, I'm a people pleaser by nature, so I'm a little bit like, if they didn't get back to me, they'll get back to me in a little bit. Well, no, I can't work that way any longer, right? Yep. I have to be more assertive, and you can be kind, and you can be respectful, but there's still a way to do it, and you get that answer that you need. And so that's something that I had to train myself. And I got the job during the pandemic. And so I was hired working remotely. And so joining a new company, a huge company, working from my house, right? And so meeting everybody for the first time was all on Zoom. Everybody I knew was in a square. And so meeting people for the first time was awesome and incredible. But also asserting yourself and being really proactive with going to meet people in those squares and slacking them, et cetera, was much different. So, yeah.
So follow-up game, strong. Heard you. Nancy, you work with so many different people, right? What happens when you get someone who you think is amazing, they're value aligned, they have skills, but they might not be the perfect fit for the role you are seeking? How do you still keep them in your orbit? Do you pass them to another? How do you move with that particular person?
I work within the full ecosystem. I mean, it takes a village. Sometimes I will stay. There's people I've talked to years ago that I still stay in touch with, and they could be amazing. I mean, there was a woman I spoke to today that I met 9 years ago, and I remember I loved her shoes, and that's how I ended up meeting her. And then I was like, oh, you have so much other talents that she offers, and there will be a job for her. So, and I've connected her to multiple people on my team, and now we all stay in touch with Louise because she's fantastic. So it takes a lot of people. And yes, so the answer to your question is we stay in touch with them, and we keep them in top of mind. And it's a two-way street, because it's not just me staying in touch, and I make it a partnership. It takes two of us. It takes all of us. So, if I've got people who are looking for a role, I can't remember everything that they're looking for, nor can my team, but I tell them, reach out. Let us know when you see something, because I can then get you to the right person, or the person on my team can get you to the right person. So it's all about just bringing people together and connections.
Got it. So even if the position is not in alignment, building those relationships. Hey, Nancy, how you doing? I see the boots you had on the other day at BRIC. How's the family? Circling back and building those intentional relationships so that maybe a year from now, or maybe Nancy knows somebody at another company that might be more in alignment, is what I'm hearing. Cool. And last but not least, Grace. What is actually involved in the process of talent buying and artist relations?
How long do you have?
We got all night. Grab a Snicker. Nah.
Well, I think first and foremost, again, using common thread, common theme is passion. Passion and really being well-versed. And I say it's a learning day by day. I'm fortunate I have kids who just absorb music. I married a musician who loves music. So it's really expanding your vocabulary. Listen to as much music as you possibly can. Live music. Go to see shows. We were just talking backstage about, just going to see live arts. You have live arts here. You're talking about the mixture of mixed media, of art, of dance, of music, of theater. Just go see art. You just never know where that will take you. So for me, City Winery is an independent venue. It talks about its ethos is providing the proverbial stage to present diverse voices. So it's not just music. We do spoken word. We started doing hip hop. We do comedy. Comedy, of course, during the pandemic was the hardest hit. It was the last to return. It is now having a huge resurgence. It's probably one of the easiest to book. All you need is a mic, water, a stool, and a stage. And it's just really developing your wish list. Go through from artists from A, B. I don't necessarily like to categorize them A, B, C, but you have tons of artists that are in your community that are local. Support local artists as much as you can. A lot of them are major headliners as well. So for me, it's really just kind of curating, looking at a 12-month period, and of course, what kind of, almost like curating a playlist. And of course, it comes down to money. You have to make money on a monthly basis for the venue itself. So you've got those projections and numbers that you have to hit. And then it's understanding contracts, understanding how to negotiate contracts, being able to make sure you're well-versed in reading contracts. I love reading contracts. To me, that is the number one thing I love to do. I love to be able to go through different line items and find certain things, and being able to do math, because you're doing spreadsheets, you're doing P&Ls, so that's extremely important.
Tell everybody what a P&L is.
Profit and loss, so you want to make sure that you know how to build that out, that your shows are profitable, and that you are not losing, because you will lose your job. But it's just important for you in terms of taking a look and building relationships with artists that are working with you. It's 100 and 100. You give 100, they give 100. You're marketing. You're being a part of a marketing team and concepts and how to be able to drive your shows and what will make your shows sell. Understanding your market, the demand for that, understanding your consumer. What does your consumer want? So for us as a brand, we are food, music, and wine. And we have a membership. So what is our membership? They pay a yearly membership fee for this. And what are they interested in? Are they interested in Americana? Are they interested into rock, indie? You want to make sure you're also serving your brand and your consumer. So I think I'm sure I'm leaving a lot more out.
Nailed it. I mean, we wouldn't know. This your job. No. No, thanks so much, Grace. So one more question I'm going to ask the panelists, and then we're going to start lining up here behind this mic to rock and roll with the Q&A. To go from teenagehood to adulthood is all the things that, like, my mother said, my uncle said that you didn't listen to, and then you turn 30-something, and you're like, Ma, you really had the answers the whole time. I should have listened. So what is one thing that somebody who cares about you gave to you as a piece of advice that you wish you'd listened to?
If someone is going off a cliff, do not follow them. You know, trust your instinct first and foremost.
Because you will drop off the cliff and it will hurt. And you don't need to do that.
I think don't be afraid to fail, and that's pretty common, but don't be afraid to take more chances. I think looking back, there were decisions I made where I wish I would have made the other decision to take in that chance. I'm incredibly happy about where I am, so I'm, not that part, but there's a handful of people that said, you should do that, you should move to this city with us or whatever, and I didn't. No, I'm going to stay here. I wish I'd done that, so.
I want to answer that, but I'm glad that came up, but this embracing failure, right? You don't seek it out, obviously, but newsflash, you're going to fail. You're going to fall flat on your face. You're going to wake up in the morning being like, I'm a loser. I don't deserve to be here. It's going to happen. The question is, what are you going to do? What's the thought after that? And you better get used to it. Some people, especially like in hip-hop culture, I will never lose, right? Will still be on top. Somebody who's down in the House of D used to say that all the time, I'm never going to lose, and now he's locked up, right? You're going to have it. You're going to take that L, and that thought of, I'm going to be ready for the next move, but you run away from it, you're going to run away from everything. And I think you mentioned, in my intro to Brooklyn Hip Hop Festival, we did a lot of cool things. If people ask me about the festival, all I want to talk about is all the mistakes I made. Yep. You know how much money I lost in 2013? You know that almost in 2011 I got divorced from working with my wife over this stuff? That was funny. And the people were like, yo, what are you talking about? Because you learn more from those failures than the success. So I would say that to the young people. Don't believe that sort of American dream of excellence that we will never lose. You're going to take it out, and that's fine. We're probably all here because of all the L's we took and what the lessons we learned from them. But I would say, I just wanted to lift that up. But my question is, take a breath, right? I am, I had a board member say to me, I'm prone to action. Right, you give me a problem and I want to solve it, right? Nice guy syndrome. I want to solve everybody's problem. And sometimes you need to just be quiet and let it go and see what happens. And my dad sent me that verse, he's old deacon, sent it to me over the weekend. If you can take a breath, sit with it for 24 hours and then act. Which when you're young, you're like, nah, we got to make this happen now. How many mistakes did I make from just not being quiet? So that would be my answer to that one.
Interesting. Love that. I would say that, oh boy, that's still a tough question. I would say that, can you repeat the question one more time?
Yeah, so no problem. It's all good. So out of all of the advice that people who cared about you gave, what is the one thing that you wish you'd listened to?
Yeah, so I got a little wrapped up in listening to everybody's stories here. So I would say the one thing is being self-aware. Really, what I find is like a lot of people just think like, oh my God, I'm so great at everything. And there are things that you're all really good at. There's things I'm really good at, and then there's things that you aren't good at. So be very balanced with that, I think is super helpful and good advice that I had. But the best advice that I had was from one of the first founder CEOs I ever worked for. And you guys have heard it probably 1,000 times from other people. But he said, do what you love. And there's a difference when you actually do what you love, because then you actually are successful at it. So it's a little bit of a combination of really understanding yourself and knowing what you're good at and what you're not good at. And then when you marry that with doing what you love, God, it's such a winning combination, and it makes getting up every day to go do what you're going to do so much better. So thank you for repeating the question, because I wanted to get them both in there. So I appreciate that.
Nailed it. And then I'll share, and then we're going to rock and roll. So I think one of the things that was prevalent for me everybody, follow your passion, follow your passion. And yes, I did that to a certain extent, but I remember when somebody told me to follow my talents. And I remember 5th grade teacher, I used to always y'all can imagine, I used to always get in trouble for talking too much. Always. Syreeta's running her mouth. Like I almost got suspended, not almost, I got suspended many times from school. I'm gonna keep it 100 with y'all. I got suspended many times from school for running my mouth. And then there was a point where I used to just hate public speaking and did not do it. And when I decided to lean into my talent, y'all know I be running it up now. I get crazy. No, I'm really grateful to have the opportunity to not only run my mouth in front of you all, but I literally run my mouth for a living outside of moving 1 trillion Lego bricks. But it's been like phenomenal, and I've done all of the failures 975 times. But when I decided to actually lean in, oh, Syreeta, you're great at this, it was a phenomenal game changer. So please clap it up for our panelists one time for the one time.
Also, clap it up for Syreeta.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you, Nancy. Thank you, Wes. Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Grace. And now we are going to rock and roll for questions and answers. Yes, come on, Lon. Let's go. And just some housekeeping before we start question and answers, because we want to get to as many questions as possible. If you have a comment, you know it in your head, you could save that for later. We'll all be here for a second. Grab a snip. You could come talk to us after. We're rocking and rolling for questions in particular. And please start with your name and follow up with your question.
My name is Leah Rogers. I was actually a volunteer for BRIC during the summer, and that really showed me how much I love. They're like, you came all the way from Jersey to Brooklyn? I'm like, yes, I love it here. I love doing this type of work. I wanted to ask, as someone who's trying to break into those roles and has had those guest services, talent management opportunities, what other organizations can we find that will help us progress into these entry-level roles? Because it seems like, you know, you apply to things, there's 100 applicants, and I go, of course, you keep trying, but what are some organizations or even tips that we can use? Because sometimes applying to Live Nation or AAG, it just seems like you're a fish in a big pond.
I'll take a stab at that because I spent a lot of time talking to people about that. You got to try to find one person, you know, just one person that that knows somebody there. I'm sure you have LinkedIn, and you can look on LinkedIn, reach out to those people. So if you keep at it, you will find someone who does know someone there, and that one person can help you get connected. The other thing that I get a lot of is when people send things to the most senior person in the company, that always comes across my desk. And when it does, it's my obligation and my team's obligation to follow up with every single person. So sometimes if you try that, you may get noticed.
I also think too, you mentioned Live Nation AEG, but there's so many other promoters out there. And I applied to every record label under the sun when I was coming out of college, and never got a response from anybody. And that's when I realized, well, I'm just going to go to these shows and these artists that I love, and you start meeting people. So I think anything you can do to surround yourself, in venues or with artists that you really, really care about, continue to work the Live Nation, AEG, MSG route, all of that, but at the same time, focus on the other stuff too. So.
And a double whammy before, that's a combination of what you both added. When you're going to things in real life, give the person that you're going for intentionally a thank you card. They will absolutely never forget you. Cool, thank you, appreciate you.
Hi, my name is Mara. I'm a former Celebrate Brooklyn entrance staff, actually, so it's very cool to be here. I remember the day that the smoke happened. So my question is about really just going into interviews, being prepared and knowing your selling points. I know that, when you're interviewing someone who is entry level, it's taken me a long time to get to a point where I'm finally confident in who I am and my abilities as an applicant. But how do you really sell yourself? Like, what would you, when you're wanting to, hire someone, what really stands out to you as something when, tell me a little bit about yourself comes on?
First, I don't start with tell me a little bit about yourself. It's a conversation when you go in for an interview. It's not a question and answer. My biggest turnoff is if you don't do your homework and you don't know who you are interviewing with, number one, the company you're interviewing for. Do some background, check out, maybe go to a show beforehand, or just know exactly what it is, because that will help you determine whether or not, it's almost like dating, I should say, right? It just helps because you've got to love us as much as we want to have you part of our community. So know your homework, because I get a lot of interviews where people come and they're just going through the road, and I say, what do you know about this company? Tell me a little bit about something. And they know nothing. So that's an immediate, okay, let me just go through and finish the conversation, and that's it.
I also like on resumes looking at interests, because you can look at what you've done in the past from a job standpoint, but when you get into the interests, that's usually where the person's able to really talk about things that move them beyond just the job. And when you're going to work with somebody, yes, you're going to work with them, you're going to have a job to do, but you're really going to spend a lot of time as a human being getting to know this person day in and day out. So you really want to be able to have that person be able to be excited and interested about something. And that's something I always look for. But I'd be too nervous to stand up on a mic and ask these questions, so you're doing great already. Yeah.
That's a fact.
Can I just add one thing? I'm going to give you the big lie. You think when you're interviewing, right, you think that I have the power and that you're sort of the dynamic. Newsflash, if it gets to the interview, that means I called Chris and said, do you know somebody who could do guest services? And he told me no. I asked for the hookup, and then I had to post it, right, in committee. So I'm actually, you think about it, I'm looking. Right? So I'm deficient. I need somebody like that. When the system says, like, I need somebody at guest services. So I'm trying to puff up in here, but I need you. Probably more than you need me. That sounds weird in your position. But I don't know how many times we're sitting here like, oh my God, I hope we don't lose this candidate. Yeah. Right? I hope I'm selling you also at the same time so you can come in here. So have a little bit of confidence that once you get in there, you have a certain amount of power. The second thing I was like, don't take, what drives me crazy is getting interviews and people talk and talk and talk, and it's like a monologue on like the Tonight Show where you're just firing your whole resume at me. Be quiet, let me talk. And same thing, it's a conversation. You talk, I talk, let it flow. People get really wound up and they just start going. I'm like, I never want to see that person again. Because it's you sort of lack the sort of social skills. So like I was saying, just relax. Right, have the confidence in you. And I would say one other thing is that note about a little bit of trivia. You know how many people come in here like, oh, I remember in 2013 you did, oh, so you know me. I like this person, right? It is very much like dating. Do their research and then casually drop that little thing in here. They'll never forget you. And I have to do it when I talk to funders. Right, I do all the backgrounds, and I see my Devo people. I get briefs on everybody, and naturally in that conversation, like, oh, how was it when you went to, SUNY Albany? Oh my goodness.
I went to SUNY Albany.
Yeah, exactly. So find those ways to drop it in there. I would
ask questions, and that's the way.
Cool, thank you.
You guys are using the whole dating thing, but I'm just gonna tell you that dating in this generation, it's not good. It's
a wild time.
It does not make us feel any better about interviews, but with the whole apps and everything. But my name is Jennifer. I'm a recent graduate from Pace University with a dual MBA in marketing management and business with a concentration in entertainment. My question to you guys is, what is something that you didn't initially like about your job that you've learned to love or appreciate? We all have things that we go in and we're like, this isn't really what I wanted, or this isn't really on my job, but I'm gonna be a team player, I'm gonna do it, and I'm gonna pretend to like it.
I don't know that there's ever been anything that I didn't like to do. It's just there's a lot of things that are surprising that you end up doing. I wouldn't say that, I don't like that. I think you have to just find within yourself to embrace things because no day is perfect, and so there's going to be things that come along that you don't like, and then you're just like, okay, how do I learn to like this, or how do I find other people who I can surround myself with that maybe they're really good at that, and then they can help make that a little bit easier.
To that point, in this job was raising money from government, money. I was saying, Nancy, I was supposed to be in Albany today, sort of going around the state capitol. No point of reference when I started this. I made all my sponsorship dollars from corporate dollars, never got that money at all. So when I got here, they were like, okay, surprise, 60% of our funding comes from state government, so get to it. I wouldn't say I didn't like it, but it was certainly intimidating if I'm gonna keep it real with you now, not snitch on myself in my own building. You were like, I don't know what I'm doing here. But exactly what it is, found people who were like, I know, and I love it. And then what I was saying earlier, that intellectual curiosity of being like, I actually, now that this is a thing I've never done, tell me more. Give me more, give me more. And then I like to say I'm pretty good at it now because it was a thing I didn't know. So you gotta just, don't be fearful of it. There's so much stuff that you don't know. You'll be paralyzed sitting on the couch all day if you let it take over. Be like, I don't know. Can you help me, please? And then humble yourself and learn, and then let that curiosity take over, and you'll probably do very well.
Well, I think you mentioned the operative word, learn. So when you look at something saying, oh, I don't like this, you're really closing that door and really denying yourself the ability and the opportunity to grow. And so for me, there are good days and bad days, but you always leave yourself, I think someone said, open. And you have to be open enough to just let whatever happens happen, but know that you have the ability and that you have the support around you. So I would just say, it's a learning opportunity.
And just really quickly, when I started at Spotify, again, it was during the pandemic, but I was working from home. Everybody was on a screen, right? And I love being around people. So I didn't like that. I thought, oh, here's another Zoom that I have to take. And then I really want to just get back and be with human beings in the flesh, et cetera. But now I realize, wow, what power that I can connect with somebody so quickly and so easily and just set up a Zoom to talk to them. So I've kind of learned and I mix it up where I get to be with people in person, but also utilize the Zoom technology to connect with as many people as possible.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And also feel free, before we hop into the next question, if you have a question that's directed to a panelist, feel free. We got Grace, we got Chris, we got Wes, we got Nancy, myself. Feel free. You're up next.
Yes, thank you. Appreciate the time this afternoon. Bryson Livingston. I'm a digital marketer by day and a year and a half into trying to be a music man. And my question's for Grace and Chris, actually. As music lovers first, how much do you get to rely on your personal ear in settings that can sort of be contentious in corporate? Thank you.
That's a good question. If I could, I would book everything
let
that
him talk to you, baby.
Hey, wait a minute.
Apologies. I'm like, I gotta get out the way. Sorry.
Okay, I don't have a response. No. If I could, I would book everything that I love. But I feel that I love art in general. So art has no boundaries, and again, it's about being open. And there are certain music that I may not necessarily listen to, and I can't just shut that off because also, again, I'm speaking to and I'm addressing our consumer base. So I certainly have to speak to that. So for me, it's everything that will, fortunately, I'm wearing my programming hat, that has to make money. There are things that, yes, that I do for passion and love and hope that, okay, if I book that one thing that may not quite make it there, at least I'm giving someone an opportunity to be able to, explore their craft.
And I think one of the things I learned as I was buying talent and programming festivals, events, I don't have to be an expert in every genre, right? I don't have to know everything, but I have to be able to know who to talk to, right? Who is an expert in that genre, et cetera. And so, and a lot of times, the events that I'm booking, there's a very specific purpose and role, and there's a very specific type of artist that we need for that event. Sometimes it aligns with my own personal taste, and sometimes it doesn't. The great thing is I'm always learning. So I get exposed to so much music when I have to book talent that is not in my own playlist, right, that I haven't listened to before. And sometimes I'm incredibly surprised and say, wow, I love that. And sometimes it won't get played again. But that was the purpose of that event, and I've learned about it and moved on. So, yeah.
Good, thanks. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
both.
Hey, my name is Raymond Ulrich. I just moved here from Michigan to pursue arts, humanities. My undergrad degree is in philosophy. But I've loved the things you've talked about, especially like service to others in leadership. But I was wondering, like in regards to mentors you had, what was something that really stood out to you that they did action-based, or even something they did in their day-to-day life that wasn't a part of their work life that really influenced you and you took away with you as leaders?
I could hop into that real quick. I had a mentor when I was 17, and everything that I wanted to do, he would say, make it happen. Everything, to a fault, make it happen. But that made me an excellent executor. I can do anything that I say I'm gonna do, I can make it happen because he just told me to make it happen. I had to figure out all of the elements. Hey, if I'm doing a mural, I'm gonna need spray cans, I'm gonna need a budget, I'm gonna need muralists. If I'm doing a culinary competition, I need chefs and a location and a DJ. If I do a huge Lego build, I need a lot of people and a lot of pieces, Lego bricks, et cetera, et cetera. Because once you do one thing, pretty much depending on what the industry is literally copy, paste, remix. That's a fact.
Yeah. Well, go ahead. Yeah, I didn't. Just say the question. You were saying what does it meant to give you, and then the something in your.
Yeah, like in regards to mentorship, what was something they did on a day-to-day basis, either at work or outside of work, that really influenced you and is something you took away with you to become a leader?
Yeah, I'll give you a quick thing, and I know we have a long line, but one of my mentors was this brother named Steve Hindy, was one of the founders of the Brooklyn Brewery. And one year when we were doing Hip Hop Festival, it was a particularly bad year. And I sort of came to him, I said, I think I need to put this down and get a real job. And Steve kind of looked at me and just started laughing. He's like, I don't know, what is this real job of what you speak of? You know, as if what you're doing is fake. And he said, listen, I tell you, he was a war correspondent for Newsweek, was in the stands of people a certain age when Anwar Sadat was murdered. You know, this is a real dude who's been in war zones and been shot at. And now he's making beer, right? And he has one of the biggest microbreweries in the world. And at the time, he said, one of my buddies worked at JP Morgan Chase and he got laid off. And I guess that was a real job. And the reality is anybody could get it at any time. I could have been shot doing my job. So be quiet and go back. And basically it was like, get out of here and go back to work. And I was like, right, and the next year we had the best year we ever had. So I think somebody like a Steve who really could put things in business into perspective, you know, and then put life into perspective and then saying, I know you're freaked out right now, but you'll be fine. Now leave me alone. And you need that sort of tough love as one of the best pieces of advice I ever got.
I would say almost the same thing. I mean, I think that one, the mentor met with me, which I was thankful for. I was like, wow, he actually really cares. So this is a big thing. And then secondly, they kept telling me, you're not ready for that yet, and you need to do this. And have you thought about that? And so they never stopped giving you something to strive for. And that, to me, he's been a mentor of mine for almost 20 years now. And it's good to have somebody that pushes you in a way that you maybe wouldn't push yourself.
One of my first really important mentors was a guy named Michael McDonald, who started a management company based in Brooklyn called Mick Management. And I saw the way he was with his family, his wife, kids. And I wasn't married yet, and I didn't have kids. But I was so impressed with how he handled just the way he was with his family and his professional side. And to me, that meant so much. And as I came up in my career, eventually got married, eventually had kid, that mentorship, that friendship has always been there. And that played such a huge role for me in how I kind of handled and navigated both.
Cool. Thank you. This is going to be our last question. Have no fear. We're still going to be around for a few after. Okay.
Hi, good evening. My name is Angela Paganibon. I'm a senior at Stony Brook University studying mass communications. So before I ask my question, I wanted to say, like, I appreciate how transparent all your answers are. You know, like, you keep it real. You're saying, like, you know, there's money problems, there's rent, there's letting people down because you'd like to make people happy. There's things like that. So you all have all discussed your past and how you've gotten to where you are, like the challenges you faced. But besides passion, what else has kept you motivated and moving forward in your careers, even when the goal was unclear?
I'd say my team. I'd say the people, for sure. I mean, they're the ones that, you know, we are in service to them, right? And so for me, it is absolutely 100%. They're my family. I love them, right? And so I spend more time with them than I do anybody else, and I care about them as people, and I want them to have the best, to reach their best potential, and that is just, it's such a fun project, right? Such a fun commitment.
I think that's a great answer. I think you could end right there, actually. To me, it's all of you, the next generation. You excite me. I think you challenge me, because I wasn't born with a phone in my hand. But I just think you've got so much verve for life. And you're, you know, this generation, in terms of looking at art and exploration and creativity, is just so vast. Don't let it go. Just keep holding on to it. There's a will, there's a way. And so for me, that's what keeps me going is you all.
I would just say that the team mentality, you know, I said, I've been at Spotify for 3+ years, or 3 years, and every day is a new day in a way of meeting new people. So it's the fact that I get to do what I do with incredible people and great people, because it's a team game. And so they kind of keep me in it and keep me excited day in and day out.
Yeah, to be honest, it's not to be corny, but the kids, right? If when my kids look up and see what I've done and being like, wow, you got a cool job, I'm like, all right, that's all I needed to maybe get to the next day to understand, like, this is pretty cool what we're doing, right? It's hard, but at the end of the day, in this building, we're making concerts, we're making art, we're teaching people, like, relax. It could be a lot worse as far as jobs go. So they put it into perspective. But I would just like to, so I think everybody said this, but I think to say, besides your passion, I think you move past that too quickly. For me, that's what it all is waking up like, this is difficult, but man, I love this. Like, this is the job I dreamed of when I was a little kid, you know, all by myself in a room, you know, sort of in an imaginarium. So being able to tap back into that energy is what it's all about. You can't, when you lose that, it's time to go, right? And when it becomes, I think you were saying, when it becomes a job and it's just there to pay the bills, that's the beginning of the end. Now, obviously, we all want to make money and we all got to, you know, keep it moving. But at the end of the day, we spend so much time here. If you're not having fun, if you're not serving the community, if you're not passionate, if you're not like, yo, look at that concert, look at what I did for the people, what's the point, you know, of it? And I think we've been trained that somehow work is suffering, right? That you're supposed to be in these tough positions. I reject that premise of like, I love what I do and I'm going to keep doing it. And that makes it easier to deal with the foolishness. So that first thing that you said, oh, besides the passion, I'm gonna say one last thing, I know we're going over. Don't minimize it. I know a lot of people don't know what their passion is. You know, I'm 51 years old. I know people making 10 times as much as me and they miserable as hell, right? Working in finance, like, this is not what I wanna do. I wanna be out in craft services in front of the movie, but now it's too late. I got mortgage, I got kids, I got ex-wives, I can't do it anymore, right? So don't act like that's something you gloss over. Find that passion now before you got the payments and all this other stuff, because it only gets harder.
Yeah. Shout out to my man from West for wrapping us up tonight.
Thank you.
Clap it up again one time for our esteemed panelists. Center for Communication, Camilla, take us out of here.
Thank you all so much. Let's give it up one more time for our amazing panelists. I'm sure they're going to be staying to speak with you all tonight. You can come up and ask questions, but please don't forget to subscribe Center for Communication and make sure you come back with another panel. Thank you, guys. Thank you for coming tonight.